welcome back to SnowRunner once again, y'all, and you may be very familiar with this cabin. Now, of course, this is the Kenworth that was released as part of Season 10, and some of you, especially back when we first checked out this truck in the PTS, some of you were very disappointed by this truck. I remember reading a lot of comments saying this thing was either too big, too slow, redundant, or just not useful and you weren't interested in it. But the biggest thing that I remember was people saying that this truck looked cool but did not have the performance to back it up, nor did it have the performance to justify its massive size. Now, this is a modded version of the Kenworth 963, and I have not really tried it at all apart from going through some of the customization options. Now, sort of the headline things that have been changed are there are some new tire options. The front suspension has been softened. There have been a little bit of there's been a little bit of tweaking done to the rest of the suspension as well, and the engines and gearboxes have been messed with a little bit. This is by no means a super over the top rebuild, but rather a kind of minor adjustment to what was already there to hopefully allow this truck to become a better workhorse in general. So what we're going to do is we have a container full of drilling equipment to deliver, and we're going to see if this upgraded and modified Kenworth 963 gives this truck the full potential that I frankly expected out of it when I first saw it. So let's fire it up and see what it can do. It definitely sounds better, too. It's got a much more interesting sound to it, a much more realistic sound to it, and it doesn't do that same thing that it used to do that used to be a big issue, which was catching on the trailer hitch. It used to have this massive issue where when you were turning, the trailer would not rotate and would actually act like it was basically kind of hinged to the truck in a way that it just wouldn't turn. It would act like it was an extension of the frame itself. Now, let's see. It's a little bit later on in the afternoon, so we're going to go ahead and bring that time back a little bit. Where are we dropping this off? Right up here at the oil rig? Oh, that's going to be a fun route because we're going to have to go up this way, down across the bridge, and then down in this general area. So, this shouldn't be too bad. All right, let's give this thing a good send. Now, one of the reasons why I really wanted to see this truck be good was because when it was first announced, I was really, really excited about it. And really excited about it in the way that, why is my mouse floating around in, oh God, my mouse is floating around in conjunction with, like, my steering. Oh, that's strange. Ignore that, I guess. Well, that's just a bit odd. I don't know why it's doing that. It's never done that to me in this game before, but when this truck was first announced, I was really hoping it would be good because I love these massive workhorse trucks. Now, as you can see, the steering speed is still quite slow, and that makes sense because, first of all, look at how massive the tires are. You're not going to be able to turn these things at anywhere close to, like, car speed. And secondly, God, that's such a great shot. I am absolutely going to stop to take that. Anyway, moving back into what we were doing now that I've stopped to get my picture, this truck it's an interesting thing because some people were super into it when it dropped and then ended up being super disappointed in its lack of performance. I was a little disappointed. I wouldn't necessarily say I was super disappointed because there were some people that were so disappointed with this thing that they were like, it's terrible, it's not worth using, it's just an all-around horrible truck, nobody should use it. And I don't necessarily think I was that far into it, but at the same time, I really wanted to like it, and so I used it a lot, but the more I used it, the more frustrated with it I became, and, you know, due to its lack of performance, and it just didn't feel like it lived up to what it promised. However, I can already tell you, even after just driving through that little set of obstacles, it's way better than the standard version, but it also doesn't come off as being overpowered. Like, look at this. You can keep up your momentum, which is good, but you're also not necessarily flying through the world at breakneck pace, which I don't think is what anybody wanted out of this truck. Now, granted, you know, I wouldn't mind doing it like once if it had some crazy over-the-top engine. That would be fun. But at the same time, I'd probably go back to the engine that I have in it now for just general work around the map. squeezing it through, trying not to get caught on anything. That's the biggest issue with this truck, is that, like, if you do not plan your turns a couple of years in advance, you're gonna have some issues to deal with. And that's not this truck's fault, it's not this truck's problem. It's more just like a general fact of doing business with a truck this massive. Dropping into the river now, let's see how it goes. Scrubbing up against that tree a little bit, but this trailer is so wide that you can rub up against a few trees and it's no big deal. I definitely recommend being in low plus or low, though, over automatic, because the automatic mode will gear hunt so much that you're better off just being in low plus and letting it chug along, and it's not that slow. Considering what it is, especially with the top engine and the advanced special gearbox, this thing actually pulls its weight around very, very well. And not only does it pull its weight around very well, it also pulls around the weight that we've got on the trailer pretty well. Now, I don't know how heavy the drilling equipment container is in relation to the weight of other cargoes in the game. It feels fairly heavy, but it also doesn't feel like it's so heavy that it's dragging us backwards. Now, some of the heaviest cargo in the game being things like concrete slabs. Concrete slabs will slow down even the craziest trucks, some to a crawl if you're going up a good climb or a good grade. So definitely keep that in mind and compare this performance accordingly to that. Okay, yeah, we were not able to turn in time. This is definitely one of those areas where you're going to run into some maneuverability issues, let's say, with a truck this big and this long. But again, it's got so much torque that if you're towing something like this, you can kind of just bump the trailer around the corners. I know that that's not the most realistic way to do it, and I know that someone in the comments is going to say, you know, you can't do that, that's not realistic. And I'm like, it's, you know, it's one of those things where in SnowRunner, you don't necessarily always have to play 100% realistically. I mean, it's 100% down to the way you want to play the game. But in relation to the way this truck drove before, I mean, with the trailer getting hung up and stuck all the time, that right there would not even been doable. We would have had to stop and winch a bunch of times. It just would not have been a pleasant experience. But now that the trailer can actually function the way a trailer hitch would, or rather the way a fifth wheel would, it's fine. It actually allows you to just rotate around corners with no issue. And pulling through, no problem. Yeah, there's definitely, like, when you take it down a route that's this tight, you do end up, you know, thinking to yourself a couple of times, should I have gone back here in a truck this big? And then you look over at Beans, and you ask Beans, and Beans is like, you probably shouldn't have come down here. And I'm like, well, you're probably right, but we're here, so we're gonna make the best of it, aren't we? The horn sounds good as well. It's not necessarily the horn I expected this truck to have, to be completely honest. I expected this truck to have a little bit more of a low-pitched horn, but that one's like, it's got a lot of volume to it. It'll definitely let people know you're coming, and I'm not, you know, I'm not worried about the horn that this thing has all that much. It doesn't necessarily ruin the truck for me or anything. There are some where if they don't like the, you know, the horn that a truck has, they'll be like, oh, the entire truck is ruined for me now. And I'm like, I don't know if I would go that far. I mean, like, it's SnowRunner, so if I like the truck but I don't like the horn that it has, I'm just not going to hit the horn in that truck. But, you know, again, that's kind of one of those personal preference things. It's entirely up to you to make that decision for yourself, so I'll leave that up to y'all. Let's go back into automatic mode now and see if it'll hold some speed going down this hill. Not too much speed because, again, we don't have very fast steering. And when you don't have very fast steering, you gotta be really careful how fast you go. But, you know, it shouldn't be all too bad. Oh, just cruising now. Let's see if it'll hold high gear. Holds it pretty well so far. I'm genuinely impressed. Ooh, easy. Making good use of our log bridge, though. That log bridge, every time I go over it, I'm like, that's one of the best things we could have done for map improvement out here, or like for general route improvement. If you are playing Season 10 and you haven't built that log bridge yet, do it, because you're seriously missing out on a very, very, very useful transportation route. Same with fixing this pipe. Now, a little bit later on, we are going to go under one of the pipes because I think there is a section that we still haven't rebuilt yet just because I got distracted with other things. But fortunately, The swamp isn't too bad up there, and the part where we can go under the pipe hasn't given me any issues with any other vehicles yet, although this is definitely by far the tallest truck I will have tried to take through there. So, I don't know, we might get stuck, we might run into trouble, who knows? We're gonna have to find out. And can I also say, this is being played, I mean, yes, everything in this video is out now, but we're using the public test server to play it because, and here's the wacky thing about this, the public test server runs so much better than the live game. The live game, I still experience terrible frame drops. And in the same exact scenarios on the public test server, I experience nothing of the sort. I have, you know, crystal clear, super smooth frame rate the entire time, and on the live game, it's just frame drop after frame drop. And sometimes it's fine, sometimes it's awful, and I genuinely don't know why. Now, yes, I know the road is over there. We're going to kind of deviate from that just a little bit because this is the section of pipe that we're going to use as a bypass, or rather just to go under. And I think we can make it. That's gonna be, ow, that's gonna be close. That's gonna be closer than close. Oh. Oh, that ain't gonna work. I've done this in pickup trucks, but this isn't a pickup truck, and so, well, we're gonna have to get a little creative, I guess, as far as getting over there. It's not gonna be a big deal. It's not gonna be an issue. I'm sure we can do it, but not having that pipe section rebuilt yet is kind of a big oof on my part. I'm sure we can get around it. We'll figure out a cut through. Well, quick update, we didn't find a cut through. This is really the only way we're gonna get in there, and unfortunately, we need another large pipe section before that can be opened up. But what we'll do is we'll go ahead and grab another truck, we'll knock that out, and then we'll be able to drop this off. But overall, we were still able to do like 99.9% of the route, so I definitely got a good feel for the way this truck drove. And I gotta say, it did a really, really good job, and it, I think, really does a nice job of revamping the feel of this entire truck. So if you like this truck, but you're not a fan of its performance level, definitely check this mod out. But if y'all enjoyed this video, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see y'all next time.